This is the second hearing in a two-part series examining the implications of Biden's student loan policies for students and taxpayers. We titled the series Breaking the System because that's exactly what the Biden administration is attempting to do. This, Mr. Cardray and Mr. Corwell. The Department of Education has vastly overstepped its authority. You're operating under a complete executive fiat. Upon my reading of the Constitution, nowhere in the Congress legislative powers delegated to federal agencies like the Office of Federal Student Aid. The first section of the first article of our Constitution is unequivocal. All legislative powers herein lie granted shall be invested to the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and the House of Representatives. Yet under the guise of the 2003 law meant to alleviate administrative hardships in dealing with federal loans, student loans for our men and women in uniform, the department has proposed and implemented sweeping changes to the entire student loan system. Congress has in no way authorized the department's action of the last 2 years, nor significantly legislated in the area over the last decade. Let me quickly run through the department's abuses. To start, your department extended the student loan repayment moratorium 6 times. Each time it neglected to provide proper guidance for servicers and borrowers regarding the returning of payment. Rather, educational bureaucrats opted to wait until the 11th hour to announce the moratorium extensions, leaving borrowers scrambling in the dark. Last week, Chairwoman Fox asked Secretary Cardona whether you have received or spoken directly with the loan services about returning to the repayment. Instead of directly answering the questions, Secretary unfortunately obfuscated. We're therefore looking forward to hearing more about those communications today. Next, the department announced blanket student loan cancellations. This plan amounts to a legal wait-and-see strategy in which President Biden knowingly proposed a dubious plan and rule to push the limits of our constitutional order. The next and possible final blow to our broken system is the legal end-around devised by the department, otherwise known as the income-driven repayment. If the blanket cancellation sham cannot pass Supreme Court muster, the IDR and other backdoor cancellation schemes like borrower defense to repayment will effectively achieve the same goal. Let me put this in perspective. President Biden has signed 3 bills this year, just 3. One to end the pandemic, one to reform DC's criminal code, and one to declassify intelligence related to the COVID-19's origins. Meanwhile, the Department of Education has submitted billions of dollars of regulations completely reshaping the post-secondary education. When in the world did unelected bureaucrats at the Department of Education and so-called nonpartisan leaders of the federal student aid become legislators? The department's actions are not a fix. Instead, they only exacerbate the long-term structural problems of college costs. Indeed, in 1987, the then Secretary of Education, William Bennett, foreshadowed the mounting problem, saying, if anything, increases in financial aid in recent years has enabled colleges and universities to blithely raise their tuitions, confident that the federal loan subsidies would help cushion the increase. Study after study has shown, unfortunately, that Mr. Bennett was spot on in his assessment. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office recently estimated that the administration's IDR plan will lead to a 12% increase in student borrowing, largely due to increase in tuition. It is a taxpayer who will ultimately foot the bill for this reckless proposal. Taken together, the Biden student loan scam would cost taxpayers up to $1 trillion when it's all said and done. Simply put, America cannot afford it. America is broke at the tune of $32 trillion. Every borrowed dollar is inflationary, and according to the Committee for the Responsible Federal Budget, the administration's blanket cancellation plan would increase inflationary pressures by 15 to 27 basic points. Americans will not soon forget this inflationary havoc already wreaked and wrought by this administration. All in all, we need to put a stop to the Biden's radical, costly, and unlawful student loan scheme. These starts with fixing a broken and unaccountable executive branch, and for that reason, I'm glad we're having this hearing today and conducting the robust oversight. As always, sunshine is the best disinfectant.